Greetings, joyful adventure fans! Today we're exploring the history behind a Birmingham institution that has sadly now vanished, the Royal George Pub, formerly located on the corner of Park Street and Digbeth. Nicknamed the Mucker by locals due to some of its more unkempt clientele from the nearby markets, this pub has a rich history intertwined with the city itself. Early days. Records show that a pub has stood on this corner since at least 1825, originally called the Cock Inn. By the late 1800s it was known as the London Museum Tavern and Music Hall, later changing names to the Canterbury Tavern before settling on the Royal George in 1900, a name it kept for over 60 years. Though the original buildings were demolished and rebuilt over time, the Royal George remained a steadfast watering hole through war and hardship. Redeveloped again in the 1960s, its distinctive ship facade set it apart while preserving its legacy. Changing times. As the neighborhood changed, so too did the pub. It was briefly renamed Mary Donlevy's before closing for good in 2010. The building stood vacant for nearly a decade before being demolished in 2017, being replaced today by a modern development. This mirrors the story of many traditional pubs, which struggle to stay afloat as costs rise and drinking culture changes. The Mucker may be gone, but no doubt many memories remain of this one-of-a-kind Birmingham institution. Conclusion. So ends over 180 years of history at the Royal George site, from live music venue to gritty locals pub to departed relic. Though the walls are gone, images of its iconic ship facade help preserve its spirit and connection to this ever-evolving city. We hope you enjoyed this nostalgic look back at a uniquely Brummy establishment. Stay tuned for more glimpses into Birmingham's past and present on Joyful Adventure Audits. And so we reach the final last call for Birmingham's Royal George. Over nearly 2 centuries, this pub stood steadfast even as the world transformed around it. The small corner of Digbeth echoes today with ghosts of raucous laughter, clinking glasses, and the brummy chatter of market workers that brought the Mucker to life. We explored the Royal George's many incarnations, from the Cock Inn of the early 1800s to live music venue to gritty local haunt with a distinctive ship facade guarding its entrance. This motif grew as iconic as the pub itself in later years. But what became of that mysterious ship when the George closed for good in 2007? As the building fell into disrepair over the next decade before its ultimate demolition, dedicated regulars hoped to save the facade and mount it elsewhere as a memorial. But bureaucratic red tape seems to have sadly scuttled those plans. Today the ship's fate remains unknown, perhaps smashed unceremoniously or gathering dust in an unlabeled council storage yard. So we reach out to you, fellow Brummies and history fans. Do you know what became of the Royal George's famous figurehead? Do you have photos, stories, or fond memories within its walls you'd like to share? Even a few salvaged bricks would connect us back to those glory days. Beyond the George, we urge supporters of Birmingham's heritage to rally behind the traditional pubs still standing today. These establishments build and safeguard our city's culture while facing rising economic pressures themselves. The ghosts of the Royal George and others like it fade a little more each day, so we must boost the spirits of pubs carrying their torch. This concludes our adventure into a small but resonant slice of Birmingham history now paved over by modernity. May the echoes of raucous cheer, clinking glasses, and timeless camaraderie of the Mucker never fade in our collective memory. Share your thoughts and help keep the spirit alive.